for this in the complex scenario, as well as simple scenarios also that is done. But to solve those areas, so solve those issues, basically AI microservices, API can help us in different areas. Like for example, in automation standardization areas, when we automate the data transferring process or coordination process or standardization process, basically AI can provide their algorithms, and those algorithms basically like used to normalize the data, or reconstruct data in different formats, take the different format, and then so by dealing all those things, the manual efforts of those manipulating those data can be done through the AI algorithm. So apart from that, this another stuff is like enhancing the security and the compliance. So basically, the security and the compliance is the major need. Like for example, healthcare systems, there is the data is more sensitive. In banking also, data needs to be more sensitive and should be accurate. So should be couple of things keeping in mind the like the AI-based monitoring systems are available, or detect the malicious activities or or any anomalies can be detected with the help of AI. So these platforms can AI can provide the security because privacy and security of those healthcare data as well as the banking sector data is very important. So AI can help on those AI can help on. So overall, I can say like so overall introduce like AI, APIs or microservice, it can help us like make the system more faster, secure, more and can provide custom oriented solutions, more comfortable solutions in the handling the different systems data or interacting with the different data or at the same time. But dealing with that, like there are a couple of challenges when we deal with complex systems in and private communities. There are lot of challenges. So those challenges, couple of challenges are like a fragmented data. So data is scattered across different systems, and this data is and when there is a data scattered across the different systems and collected across those data for and generate required data for the healthcare systems or any other systems is one of the challenges. Is one of the challenges difference when dealing with the standardization. Another is the data standardization system. The data questions records from one hospital, another hospital, or any other details. So those any other data, there is no standardization. So when they come to collect those data and try to process those data for example, like clinical needs, for example, technical needs to understand patient diagnosis or any in that scenario, standardization data is another challenge when the systems comes to the complex comes on the complex. Apart from that, the concern another concern is the data concern. So data is processing. So data is most of the data when we handle most of those data when we handle the manually or handle there is a concern of data security. There is a concern that data another that data security concerns data security concerns any system. So it may be any patient's data around patient's data or like financial data, like financial data is we need to keep it protected. So that is another protected. So overall, that is another see. Overall, those data, handling different data, making those data available on the making those data available on the point of decision making systems. Those that decision making time delays because of the different system has their own delays. So all basically coordinating those data is another challenge in the multiple systems diagnostic scenario. So now see like some systems are in cloud, like some systems are in premises, some systems are in and all those really those data without giving the less latency and that is the challenging when that is the currently challenging when dealing with the data because yeah, so we'll see. Yeah, so how we see. Yeah, so how to basically those how to handle basically those kind of these challenges So these challenges are when we go with the manual processing, the picture bigger for those taking those challenges becomes for more interesting. But if you take advantage of technology, technology, AI, just then APIs, just services, APIs and microservices, we can handle those kind of challenges in a very 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 so that like accuracy and better accuracy we can say with faster we can say faster accuracy with first like for example when the system is data is scattered across, we want to collect those data and we want to and process those data. In that scenario, basically the ones in that we can use one in case of we can use that. So in case of APIs can provide such standard APIs, that standard APIs can provide us that standard interact those data with standard format. So those standard format. So still no data is captured. Still we can use the APIs to provide data as well as required data, as well as with the help of those data, like conversion of those data, mapping of the data with the help of data, so that is the manual efforts can reduce, and then the data problem of the data fragmentation is will become more accurate and of the faster while dealing with the different apart from that is standard. Apart from we saw is another standardized. We saw another problem is the standardization in the data. So when the data like the different format or like file HL or those kind of standard HL, those kind of APIs can handle basically. APIs when we deal with those, so API we can API is the API is standard format data with the different format because APIs can work with the REST and the REST basically REST is and the REST basically client different handle different areas, the client areas, different the client environments like you can say Windows or Java, Linux or Java platform. So APIs can help us to handle those. These are the lightweight. So basically, what can help us to use like those like fire format or HL7 kind of format, where basically AI can in that area, so AI can help to do some standardization based on the algorithm, and once the standardization is done, like for example, implementing the file, for example, or HL7 file, AI or HL7, and over the period of time, AI can more accurate, more precise by more accurate historical data and making historical data format, making more accurate format. Suppose any errors or anything comes up, so AI algorithm can read those data and based on the those issues or challenges, they can challenge those standardization properly to deliver that data in the third is like security. Third is like this is another issue with the data. This is another issue with the data privacy. So that also basically that also the bigger chunk of data or bigger chunk of basically we can use like microservices. We can make like a smaller data and microservices has the security mechanism like security optical systems where basically those systems where we can protect the internal microservices, the data which microservices can use. API has also their own authentication and authorization ways like OAuth and all. So those platforms can provide us those do the authorization with the user, the system, so that the system, that security can be reduced and reduce the system and when we with the different system can protect with the different system. Apart from that, AI, apart from go with the AI, basically, so AI help with those areas. AI can also help in those areas. So that we can monitor any errors or like anything in the because of the security or privacy. Here the AI can detect and then we can detect and then we can like protect our data based on the AI. Apart from that, when we want apart from when we want or complex or any system from
or
the
any system from the like bigger system
so in
from
that
only
basically
system.
microservices
In that case, basically microservices
because
and
API
API can handle
when
because the
we wanted to
API
deal
when we
concurrent
wanted to deal
logic
concurrent
with
and
need
logic
little bit
need
bigger
little bit
complex data
bigger
this
complex
API
data
can
handle.
help us.
API
But so
can
dealing
help
with
us.
those data like
But to deal with
microservices
those
with the
data
help of
like a
APIs,
microservices with the help of
basically
APIs,
AI can integrate with them
AI can integrate
to
with
make the
them
complex or rigid
to
system
make the complex
very
logic system
based on
very
the as per the need. Like
based
for
on that.
example, if you wanted to
Like
data
for
is
example,
growing and the challenges are
data is
growing,
growing
so
and the challenges
growing
are
need
growing.
can be
So the
handled
growing need
using the
can be
AI
handled
for these
using the
APIs
for
and the
APIs
microservices,
and
so that whenever
microservices. So that
legacy
whenever
systems you wanted to
legacy
use the
system you wanted to
leverage
use
the legacy systems
leverage
data
legacy
with the
systems data
inbuilt
with
systems
the
of your
inbuilt
built
versions
versions
of
of the
your
APIs or
built-in
microservices.
versions of the
Those
APIs
kind of
or
integration can be
microservices. Those
handled
kind
by
of
AI,
integration can
and
be
AI
handled
can
by AI,
coordinate
and
with
AI
different
coordinates
systems.
with the
Whenever the new
different
system is
systems.
built, AI
Whenever the
can
new system
coordinate
is
with
built,
them,
AI
provide the
can
data as
coordinate
per
with
their
them, provide the data as per their
format, the
the
new complex
newly
systems.
format for the
So,
complex.
like that. So,
Like
for
that.
the another challenge
For
is
the
the real-time data
another
sharing. So,
challenge
when
is the
we
real-time
share
data
the
sharing.
data,
So
so
when we
sometimes
share the
what
data, so
challenge is like we
sometimes
want
what
the data
challenge
to be
is like we
available
want
as
data to be
as per the
available
requirement.
as
So there should not be
as
a
per the
delay.
requirement. So
Those
there
kind
should
of
not be a
basically
delay.
AI.
Those kind of
AI has a
AI
predictive
AI
analytics
has a
tools
predictive
capabilities. So predictive analytics,
predictive
we can
analytics,
build either
we
there
can
are a couple
build
of inbuilt tools
either
we can
there are
use
couple
or
of inbuilt tools
custom
we can use
analytics we
or
can build
custom
so that
analytics
the
we can
real-time
build
sharing
so
between the
that
complex
the real-time
systems will
sharing
be
between the
without
complex
less delay.
systems will
So
be
delay
without
will be
less
no more
delay.
delays
So delay
and
will be no
that
more
that
delay
will
and
help us to
that will
like
help us to
real-time sharing data difficulties
real-time
with the
sharing
help of
data
AI.
difficulties with the
Apart
help
from
of
that,
AI.
if we
Apart
go
from
with
that,
the quality or
if we go
consistency,
with the
because like
quality or
whenever we deal with
consistency,
this kind
because
of systems,
whenever
there
we
is
deal with
always
this
an
kind of
issue with the
systems,
data
there is
quality
always an
because
issue with the data
one
quality.
system
Because
expect the data
one
into
system
one format
expect the data
from the
into one
another,
format
and while
from the
dealing
another,
mapping
and
is
while
those systems or dealing
mapping
those
those
systems
systems or
basically has
dealing
a
those
challenge.
systems
And every
basically
time
has
when
a
the data
challenge. And
changes,
every time when the data
this challenge
changes,
grows over the
this
period of
challenge
time.
grows
So in
over
that
the
case,
period of time.
basically, the
So in
AI is
that
the
case, basically,
good
AI is the
candidate to handle those
good
because AI
candidate to
can
handle
provide us
those.
the data
AI can
validation
provide us the
as
data
well as
validation as well as
the cleaning of the data because sometimes the
cleaning
two
of the
different
data. Because
systems in the
sometimes
different
different
environments
systems in the
that
different
may not be as
environments
per the
data that may
requirement.
not be
So
as
the
per the
cleaning of those
requirement.
data,
So the
AI can
cleaning of
handle.
those data,
AI
AI can
filters those
handle.
data based on
AI
the
filters those data
historical data.
based
It
on
can
the
read the historical
historical
data,
data. It can read the
and based
historical
on
data,
historical data, it
and
can
based on
help out
historical data,
to
can
validate
help
and the
out to
cleaning
validate
can
and
be
the
possible.
gene
So that
cleaning can be possible.
data
So
quality
that
consistency
data
can
quality
we can handle with
consistency
the
can
help of AI
handle
algorithms.
with the help of AI.
So like that. So it's all
So
like
like that. So
the
so
AI,
like
APIs and
the
microservices
AI,
can
APIs and
contribute with
microservices
the
can
greater
contribute
experience when
with
handling
the
the
greater
challenges
experience
of
when
the
handling the challenges of the
interpreting challenges while sharing the data.
interpreting challenges while
So
sharing the data.
AI
So
is has
AI
a major role while
is
handling
has a
those
major
kind of
role
data. For
while
example,
handling
if you
those
say
kind of
like
data. For example,
electronics
if you say
health
like
record,
electronics
so this is
health
another
record,
digital platform,
so this is
and
another digital
that will
platform,
be
and
supported
that can
by that can be
supported
managed
by
by
that can
AI.
be
So
managed by
AI
AI.
has
So AI
like patients with
has
the
like
healthcare data with
patients with the
the
healthcare data,
EHR systems will collect the
the
patient's
EHR
data,
systems will
and we
collect the
wanted to
patient's
deal
data,
with those
and we
data
want to
like
deal with those
different
data
formats
like
or different
different
sources.
formats
That
or
data can
different
be
sources. That
managed
data can be
by AI. So because
managed
AI has
by
algorithm
AI.
like to
Because
extract
AI
those
has
data from
algorithm
the
like to
unstructured
extract those
format
data
like
from the
notes,
unstructured
images,
format
or
like
anything,
notes,
and
images, or
provide
anything,
that
and
data as input to
provide
the
that
EHR
data as
system.
input to
So
the
that is
EHR
one of the
system. So that is one of the
algorithm system nowadays getting
algorithm
popular
system
to
nowadays
manage
getting
those kind of
popular to
EHR
manage
data.
kind of
Apart from
EHR
that,
data.
one of the
Apart from
case study
one of the case
gone
study
through this come across like
gone through this
clinical
come
decimal
across
support
is
system
clinical
where
decimal
which is
support
the AI
system,
powered system where
which is the
basically
AI powered system, where
statistically
basically
what they are
the
doing
system is
they are
basically what they are doing.
like
They
AI
are
the AI
AI
algorithm they are using
the
and
AI
they tries
algorithm they are
to
using, and they tries to
standardize the health data
standardized when data across the different providers.
So where
the data account. So where basically due to that, the patient like
comes,
symptoms,
for example, the symptoms, for example, nowadays,
symptoms
and after 6 months,
so
now
nowadays,
all
after
those 6 months or 1 year,
AI
all
can
those data
gather
basically
decisions,
AI
support
can
system,
gather
and based
decision
on
support
complexity
system,
and
like
based on the
like a cardiac
complexity
issue
like
or anything,
like a
customer
cardiac
feels
disease
or
or
anything,
anything,
they
customer
want to
feels
feels
or
about
any decisions they
this
want to
medication
make about
anything
this
that basically
medications
support
or anything
can,
that basically
can
support
help us
us
based on the data
can
and
help us based on the
different
data
from different.
Tell us how they're doing out there. I'm curious.
Tell us
to
how
the
they're doing
video.
out there. Basically, the AI can provide the help,
AI can provide
analyze those data, and
analyze
based on
those
that,
data,
basically,
and
it can
based
help
on
us
that,
to
basically it
take
can
the
help us
decisions. So
take
AI
the
has
decisions.
nowadays
So
contributed
AI has
majorly in the
nowadays
decision
contributed
system
majorly in
based
the
on
decision
those
system
kind of your
based
data
on those
which
kind of
shared from the
data
different systems.
which is shared from the
So
different
what I
systems.
feel is like
So what I
overall,
feel
like
is
a
like
healthcare
overall
domain,
like in
basically,
a healthcare domain,
being
basically,
the AI,
being the AI,
basically
AI
making
basically making
healthcare
the
system more faster,
healthcare system
accurate,
more faster,
and like
accurate, and
and like helpful for the
can like
patients,
helpful for
diagnose
the
or
patient,
delivering the product
or
to the patients
delivering the
on
product to the
time and
patient
very with
on
the
time
rapid
and
space.
very with the rapid
There's a
pace.
question. Is it
Question.
it seems
Is
like
it,
you do a
it seems
lot in
like
this space. I'm just
do a lot
wondering,
in this space.
have
I'm
you
just wondering,
have you seen
um,
anybody
seen
using
anybody
uh,
using
AI and Fire with
AI
OpenEHR yet? So
OpenEHR yet?
OpenEHR is a open source
OpenEHR is
healthcare
a
record. It's a global initiative. There's a lot of countries and nation states that are using it, and then smaller hospitals in the U.S. and it's open source. And we're part of that group. We're on the committee. And one of the things I'm just curious about is
one of the things I'm just curious
the
about is like
community and when they're going to start infusing
when they're going to start
AI into this, right?
infusing
Because you like
AI
Microsoft and Nuance, you guys have done an amazing job at doing that with Epic, you know, right? And so it's almost like I feel like somebody like this needs to do the same thing with the open source EHR, you know, the electronic health, you know. And so that's what I'm asking. So have you heard of Open EHR, any initiatives like that for the
Fire
integration?
and AI combinations currently we are using.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And Open EHR supports Fire, so I assume that would be fine. Like, the interoperability shouldn't be an issue.
interoperability.
Is it so the resistance is between the well established versus
Yeah, but in all
versus
fairness, I don't know that
Yeah, but in all
resistance is the
fairness, I
right word
don't know that
because I
resistance
think
is
that
the right word
there's
because I
a
think
lot
that
of
there's
needs
a lot of
healthcare
needs in
especially if you look at
healthcare,
globally,
especially if
right?
you
So
look at globally.
I think in
So,
the U.S.
I think
the
in
conversation
the
is
US,
not quite
the
as
conversation
complex.
quite as
Most just
um,
because we've
most
been
just
consolidated
because
into both
we've been
about a
consolidated
handful of bigger
both
players, right? You've got
about a handful
Cerner,
of bigger
Allscripts,
players, right?
GE,
You've got
etc.
Cerner, Allscripts,
Um,
GE, etc.
But you know, especially
Um,
smaller
but
nation
you know,
states. Like I was
especially
just at,
smaller
I've been
nations,
visiting Malaysia on a regular basis the last 3 years and doing like an executive summit talking about this type of stuff. And they've just invested about, I think it was like 500 million or something like that. But for them it was really important because at that time Microsoft didn't have a data center in Malaysia, and neither did Google. They were both building one, and now they have finished them. So they finished their data centers in the past few years, and it's there. But they wanted to be careful about making a decision that wasn't cloud agnostic because they didn't know what vendor was, you know. So that's why they went with the open EHR. And of course, there's a little bit of a money issue, right? Because of, it's very less implemented. So that's why I was asking, because it's a great topic, interoperability, and that's really what. And by the way, I encourage anybody to look into that group. It's a great, fun little side thing. That just, I mean, again, it's open source electronic health record. So if I had more time, I would love to take our product that we've built on the Microsoft stack and see if we can integrate it. It's just a time thing. We just don't have time right. So yeah, thanks for letting me share. I just was. It's open EHR. Yeah.
It's-
Yeah. Microsoft, I'm sure Microsoft is a
Microsoft
supporter.
is a supporter. You can check it, yeah.
Yeah.
I never did.
Yeah,
I
it's
know.
it's open
Yeah.
source EHR.
I know.
It's open source EHR.
Okay.
And it's just like they have the model
And
where
it's just like they have the
it's a,
model
like it's
where
a group, and they
it's a
it's
like
open
a
EHR,
group, they-
but then
and it's
companies
open EHR,
take
but then
that and they
companies
commercialize it.
take
So
that
there
and they
are some
commercialize it.
commercial
There's-
products
there
for
are
open
some
EHR as well.
commercial
But it's open source, and there's a
But it's
group, that controls that.
group,
But there are some commercial
But there are
open EHR
commercial
players as well.
players as well.
There was a bipartisan into interoperability between healthcare systems. And the outcome of the outcome was there's no technical ability
Yeah.
to interoperability or this what it really is. This is just keeping silos, keeping medical silos and medical difficult to enable patients to be locked
Yeah.
into a medical system.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's
Yeah, no, I-
but although
I think
it's
that's
noting the nuance there
Although it is
because
noting the nuance.
you're spot on and you're absolutely
You're
right.
spot on
I
and
view that as like
right, but I
yet
I think
another
that is like
complex interoperability issue, right? Because there, so when I'm having this conversation with friends abroad, they'll say, "Hey, what's up with your healthcare system?" Blah blah, right?
What's up
And I'll have to remind them, right? It's almost like we have 50 countries in one.
It's almost
Right
like
now, get back to what Obama.
Right now, getting back to
Because when Obama did that, what they were doing, if you
because when
remember right, they
Obama
were
did
more.
that,
It was more about making the exchanges for the
more about
finance side, the payer, the payee across the 50 states, right? And don't get me wrong, you're spot on.
And don't
It's
get me
super
wrong,
complex,
you're
but just
spot on,
while we're
it's
having the
complex,
conversation,
but
I'm just
while we're
pointing
having the
out the
conversation,
nuance between the
pointing
complexities,
nuance between
uh,
the complexities,
interoperability at the payer payee level, that network. And then-
level, that network.
But then at the
And then-
same time, because of
But then at the
capitalism,
same time, because
the
of
market's been
capitalism,
eaten
the
up to
market's
just 5
been
companies, right? Through
eaten up to just
consolidation.
5
So it's an
companies,
interesting
through
dynamic in the US.
It's
Because
an
at one time you
interesting
have fewer
dynamic in the
players at the
US. At
top,
one time you have
but you have
players,
50 states each
But you have
asking,
50
acting like
states
their own
each
country. And
asking-
even within the state, we all know, right? Like in Boston, there's
all
multiple
know, right? They
health
there's
networks.
multiple
So anyway, I'll
health
stop. I
networks.
could go on and
So
on.
anyway,
So I had a situation where I went to Mount Auburn Hospital and they're on Epic, right? And Burlington Lady over here, became part of that network.
Yeah.
Burlington of that was on
Yeah.
Epic. Burlington, and I went over to Burlington for some. And I went
Yeah.
to Burlington,
Yeah.
they had no access. They had just been, even though
Yeah.
and they were on the same
Yeah.
Tufts network,
Yeah.
same, and they could access the Epic system,
Yeah.
the Epic, the Mount Auburn system.
Yeah.
that the Mount Auburn was going to take a year, and they said
Yeah.
to integrate.
Probably. Yeah, that's why it's such a great talk, and that's why we're excited to have Manish here because and part of that pain is
and part of that
it's exactly the stuff that we're talking about.
Exactly.
And you're right, in Boston, it's so congested
And you're right,
now.
Boston,
that
it's so
when I go to
congested
my
now,
when I go to my hospital site, there's like 12 different portals to click on. Because they've consolidated so quickly. Like they've got like, 12 hospitals and they haven't even had time to migrate them all. So now it's just like, okay, click
them all. So
your
now it's just
hospital,
like,
and then it
okay,
brings you to that
your hospital,
instance
and then
of
it brings you
Epic,
to that
the portal for
instance
that
of
hospital.
Epic, the
I'm
portal
sure
for
you're
that
seeing that too
hospital.
on yours.
I'm sure you're seeing that too on yours.
So there's interoperability, so there's interoperability.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Yeah.
If everybody bought into it.
If everybody bought into
Has
it.
to buy
The problem
in,
is
right?
everybody
And
has
that's
to
why
buy
it's
in,
easier for
right?
smaller
That's why
nations,
it's easier for smaller
countries.
nations, the smaller countries.
You have one is direct system, one is interoperability in Epic, but then you also have between systems, let's say you have one CERN system, let's say you have the whole, then you have mapping, mapping by HL7, supposed to be solved by HL7. I suspect has not been still solved by a significant issue on how you communicate or how you map the data.
But I would say, to be fair to them, I would the core data sets have gotten pretty good, pretty standardized. Like, what is a patient? What is an appointment?
Oh, yeah.
What is a
That they probably, the clinical
yeah.
stuff.
There's a spectrum for sure.
Especially this system has unstructured data, and that system has unstructured data. But the unstructured data is still structured. The unstructured data is filled with unstructured data.
this stuff from us, they don't, and those probably don't have to, and they.
Yeah.
There's no.
Yeah.
Obvious, unique, correct way to do it, so.
And speaking of
Whoever's on.
intra issues and selecting the medical facility, like I'll give my example. I have a couple of health conditions. And I go to each of the specialty. I go to each hospital or doctor hospital to seek the treatment.
Yeah.
But I made a decision to go under one roof, by which my PCP, can connect to all those different doctors' portals and read through all the data after my appointment. So that way, at least my PCP can see my data from cardiologist,
Right.
data from my diabetic
Right.
hospital.
But how crazy is that? Because if you think
But how
about it,
crazy is that?
Boston is supposed to be the healthcare unit. It's the
Right,
hub of
snake
the
hub.
world.
Yeah.
Like this is the best of the best right here. Like what we're talking about, it doesn't get any better.
What we're
than
talking
this,
about,
right?
it doesn't get any
And we
better
all
than this,
know
right?
that-
And we all know that that's scary.
That's scary. We know that's
And
not
that's
true.
scary, right? And that, we know that's not true. There's some great work being done in Singapore,
You know,
Saudi
in
Arabia,
different places.
Canada,
Canada,
in different
right?
places, Canada even, right?
Malaysia.
Malaysia started.
I probably do because I've been to a
I
couple of
probably
hospitals
do.
there. I've been to a couple.
Oh,
Yeah, sure.
They tell you everything in
yeah.
4 hours.
Yeah, I know.
Before the dogs.
I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Before the dogs. My sister did it.
Yeah.
My sister did
Right,
it.
if you want to
Yeah.
see the best technology, if you want to see the best animals, look at
Yeah.
animal,
Animal?
the animal,
Yeah.
Animal?
animal, some of the technology,
Very-
the technology.
They get-
They get.
It's not issued by insurance. There is people pay out of pocket, people pay out of pocket. So the whole insurance stuff, and also it's not subject to the same, also that it's not subject to the
Right.
same
Exactly.
regulations.
Right.
Like, so, the one for rich people, I think, the one for rich people, I think that
Yeah.
really, really cutting edge technology.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I should have
Let us- I got you. I should have warned you.
That's why
You happened.
I said our.
That's why I said we don't have to worry about it.
We call IDEX healthcare. Animal
Identity.
healthcare.
Okay.
Yeah, IDEX.
Oh, oh, nice. Oh, now I speak. Sorry.
Animal care center, CR.
Ah.
Yeah,
Ah.
Only one client.
yeah, one time, very different type. It's still very quick, one type. It's still personal.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. Back,
Yes.
back to
Yeah. Back to interoperability, more interoperability.
Yeah.
So we will next slide.
Yeah. Oh,
Thank you.
So, yeah,
Thank you.
similar,
Similarly,
the
areas of playing a major role by banking sector, banking system.
like for example, like when you
For example, transfer the data across the different banking institutes. Basically, the problem is like there is a private problem or like privacy, data privacy. There are regulations issues apart from the compatibility solved. So all basically can be solved. So like provide the encryption, control the access. So those kind of sharing the data, sharing the data can provide us algorithm can provide us those kind of insights in that. For example, like a fraud detection system, we can import in our AI system also. Like AI can help us figure it out the different data patterns, what their insights, what are the issues inside over those data, and like over the bit of learning, machine learning models can learn from build patterns and change their algorithms, build their algorithms to the incoming or new rates, and then adopt make the system much much
In case of
stronger. In case of the, for example, like a bank KYC automation, the KYC automations or anti-money laundering
so
processes.
those kind of areas also like we can do like it's very strong
Verifications
and
are very strong, and apart from with the monitoring system, the law, with those changing
anything.
the
So that
laws or
we can address
anything.
with
So
the
that
help of
basically we can
AI.
address with the help
So
of
we can
AI.
identify
So we can identify and
verify
with
the
the
help of AI.
verification with the
Apart
help of
from
AI
that,
algorithm.
we
Apart
can
from that,
like more
we can put for
like
like more protective systems. We can use like facial recognition,
All the
predictive
AI
analysis, all those basic
and
AI
they
algorithms
can get
support, and they
upgraded
can get
over the period of time, so that we
over
don't
the period of time,
look
so
for
that
the
we don't
change in the thread,
look for the change in the
systems,
threads,
what are the changes are
the
coming.
systems, what are the changes that are
like
coming.
one of the
Prospect, one of the prospects
studies
like case study,
Basically the
um,
bank
basically the when
like
the bank needs like
or any like
validations
suspicious
or any
activity,
suspicious
we
activity,
yes,
basically
this can
we
help out over
gas
there like
systems help out
can
like
generate advanced pattern
can generate
and
the
provide
advanced pattern and
real
provide
time
the
validations
real-time
and
validation
while doing
with
with the real time
while
data
doing
exchanges
with
also
real-time
basically the
data
verification
application
process
also,
can be done
basically
with
the
the help of
verification
AI.
process can be done with the
So
help of
basically,
AI.
like using the
So
AI,
basically, like
the outcome
what
the help is in the
outcome
sense of
the
reducing the
help is
delay,
sense of
making the more
accurate,
accurate,
making the
like
more
dealing
accurate,
with the data,
like
and
dealing with the
the
data
hot fraudulent
and
processes
the
activity
hot
can be
fraudulent
also
processes
detected
activity
with
can
the
be
AI
also
system.
detected with
So
the
in
AI
those
system.
basically like
In
AI
those
can
areas,
be
basically like
more stronger,
can
can
more
more
and
than
stronger, can
basically
use
we
as that.
can build the trust and
Basically, we can
transparency
build the
in those
trust and
areas by
transparency
dealing with the
in those
banking
areas by
banking
dealing with the
sectors.
banking sector.
So, like when we deal with interoperability,
When we
basically,
deal with interoperability,
AI ecosystem basically
AI
we use.
efforts,
There is basically
there is
exchanging
basically
data, we can
exchanging the
much
data, we
exchange
can
data much
much
faster,
exchange data much faster,
and
in,
reduce
and
the delays.
and
Then
reduce the
uh,
delays.
we can
Then
reliable data
we can produce
based
a
on
reliable data also, like based on
different
using the
standard,
like different
different
standard, different
algorithm
different
with AI can
algorithms with AI can support.
security is another benefit we
Security
can
is
gain
another benefit
from
we
that,
can gain
and then we can manage
from
sensitive
that,
data
and
with
then we
anything
manage
like
the sensitive
healthcare
data,
or any banking
or any
system. And
banking
basically all
systems
the
related,
impact
and
will
basically
reduce the
all those
cost when we
impact
build the
will
product,
reduce the cost when
when
we
we
build
build
the
the product,
product,
because automation
when we
can
build
handle
the
that,
cost, because
because all
automation can
streamline the process
automation can
is
streamline the
much
process is much
easier when using the AI. We can
easier when
handle that,
using the AI.
and the
We can
manual
handle
work
that,
more we can
and
reduce.
the manual
So those
work
are
we
couple
can
of
do. So
the
those are
benefits we
couple of
can get
the
if we
benefits
use
we can
go
get
with the
if
AI
we
enabled
go
systems.
with the AI enabled systems.
But while dealing with those, there
But
are
while
like
dealing with
different
those, there
challenges.
are
Like there are
different challenges.
compliance
Like
issues
there
are
are
there, like
compliance issues are there,
regulation
like
regulation
regulations
back
with
and forth. So
NGDPR, like
basically,
back
we
and
need to
forth. So
consider
basically, we
that
need
while
to
dealing
consider that
with
with
the
the
data privacy issues.
data
Apart from
privacy
that,
issues.
we
Apart
need
from
to
that,
consider like high
we
when
need to
we
consider
deal
like
with the like a high quality of data,
like
the
a high
transparency
quality
of
of
the
data,
systems,
the
the
transparency
people
of the
concern is the major concern.
people concern
So
is the major
like
concern. So
when
like
generate algorithm with the
when
based on
generate
AI systems,
algorithm with the
basically
based on AI
the
system,
bias
basically
is
the
we need to
bias
look for
is
when
we
algorithm
need
is
to look
not
for
going in
whether the
favor or
algorithm is
bias
not well favor or
taking the
bias
decision.
while taking
Like
decision.
and it also maintaining the transparency
And it
by
also
taking the
maintaining the
decision
transparency by
between
taking the
building
decision
the algorithm,
between
building
those
the
shared
algorithms,
dealing
data
with
across the
those
different systems.
shared data across the different systems.
And apart from that, basically,
And
like,
apart from that,
when we
basically,
deal
like
with
when we deal with
data from the
like
different systems,
data
basically,
from the different
we need
systems,
to
basically, we need to
build AI
be,
systems. To build
build
that,
the
we need
AI
to
systems. To build that, we need to
train the
the
workforce. That is one
train the
more
work.
things we need
That
to
is
consider.
one more
we need to consider sometimes apart from those systems and the AI algorithms are running and the API or microservices are running, we need to migrate the system. We need to migrate some systems that while dealing we need to consider while dealing with those. So for that all basically we need to do some planning, advanced planning, or advanced study planning, or consider planning while consider those issues while dealing with those kind of algorithms. So one of the case study comment from case study the medical solution basically medical solution basically built as a bills so what they are that so what they want in that is generally they want to generate do the atomic and data real time context and that real time context so that dealing with the they can more real time data they can get more real time data typically they typically they use and the deep learning model to the mind mapping to that mapping so that like a different data comes from the HL7 fire and different format they deal different format they deal with that with the help of training the deep learning. Apart from that, they use the NLP help get to get the study the unstructured data, study the unstructured data, documents different nodes, or images, or any scan data, and they can create the structured data from that. Another, apart from that, another error for the error correction detection, we use the AI tools and and figure it out anomaly data or any corrupted data or any so that so they can figure that they can figure it out based on the if you see the when you those when you use those deep learning model and the data mapping and accuracy they achieve with mapping they achieve around 90%, and they reduce that manual errors in that 90 the mapping error 90%. Apart from the real time they achieve like they achieve like 60% reduction in latency. So they able to transfer latency data from different systems, data from different systems. Around operational cost also the operational cost also around the per percent operational cost operational cost also in clinical like decision like the decision model which they build for the health AI platform basically they able to improve that basically by 50%. And apart from the errors, whatever they monitor, like they're dealing with the systems with the help of manual efforts or their legacy systems, they basically like they are able to reduce that error up to the 85%.
Very cool. Can I ask you a quick question about this? One of the things I noticed at Build, the Microsoft event last week, is that it seems like Microsoft is all in on fine tuning this year, and they even I've heard some people call it like the year of fine tuning, and so apparently based on what they've learned in the last year or so, they just feel like that's a really great way to start customizing these applications and solutions, like the one that you're talking about here, and I'm just wondering, and so when they were doing the demos for the fine tuning, it was really amazing. Like I couldn't help but think how much that technology had improved, because I remember not too long ago doing fine tuning and it was a big deal. Like, you get your data set and you'd spend this huge amount of time just filling in missing data wrangling and all that. And now, and with Azure Foundry services, they're doing fine tuning almost like dragging over. And so what I'm wondering is underneath the scenes, under the hood, I'm assuming Microsoft is doing something like this, right? With ML models so that they're doing the hard work for you for that fine tuning. And for the end user, it's just looking like. So am I correct in connecting the dots that way, that this is essentially what this pattern is doing here is helping automate that data wrangling, what we used to call data wrangling, right? And data cleaning up the data, etc.
Yes.
which is an iterative process. That's what now I'm catching up with what you were saying because you pointed that out 2 slides ago as well, right? Because it's an iterative part. You have to keep doing that, and the data changes, and so you keep building your pipeline. Yeah, that's fascinating. Cool. Okay, thank you. Yeah.
So earlier, the thought to reduce the hallucinations or to generate accuracy was use RAG or
Right.
something or prompts
Yeah.
or similar solutions. Right?
Yeah.
But now it looks like the cost and the time to fine tune the model
Yeah.
is going down
Significantly. Yeah. They trained one, and granted, well, I think the big reason why is it doesn't take a lot of data now. Like and again, it's built and they're doing demos, so you have to do it yourself and really kick the tires, right? But what they showed is they did a, it looked like a reasonable training set, and I think it literally cost like $10 or something. Like they did the math on it afterwards. It wasn't a lot of money, no. And one more note, sorry to interrupt, is I actually think it's sort of an important topic because I feel so we're, as you know, an ISV building product and all that. So I feel like so we're always paying attention to product market fit, what makes us different, what's going to give us our moat, etc. And and oddly enough, it just all seems to be coming back to data again, right? Because it's like now, okay, well, if fine tuning gives you that differentiator, well, that means you need to have some data to do your fine tuning with, right? And so anyway, just an interesting observation that we've started to make recently.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about vertical AI agents, and that requires specialization,
Yeah.
fine tuning. And if there's like investors on the West Coast, they are promoting or sponsoring investments in the AI agent type of products or the platforms. So I think it makes sense to reduce the cost for fine tuning so that
Yeah.
people can produce the vertical AI agents targeted to specific industry subsector.
Yeah.
That's the reason Microsoft spending much time. Data center, right?
Right.
The NVIDIA, the collaboration,
Correct.
computing.
Yep. Sure.
Very cool. Thank you.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Thank you. So, like in future, future outcome of those basically systems, like federated learning, basically, that basically the data is modules are trained locally, so that they don't need to share their raw data, which is sensitive, and that basically local trained modules basically hides that sensitive information, and basically it can be used to deal with the decision making systems or any other system, so that any changes in the fuel systems comes up, so automatically these modules locally train data without sharing the raw data, grow up day by day, and we can use that federated learning techniques to more protect those data. Apart from that, in case of a standardizations, we can create the new frameworks, universal frameworks coming up slowly. So these frameworks basically help us to reduce the efforts while dealing with the different data systems. Like blockchain technology, like we have a concern with majorly concerned with the security of the system. So blockchain basically techniques basically with the AI basically providing giving more secure way, so that when in blockchain technology, like a different transactions are clubbed inside of one block, and these blocks are scattered across the network, so that there is no centralization and leak of the data from one system or anything. So more protections are there, and AI can manage this block, creating the block, handling those blockchain technology, so that we can create the temper-proof data in the bigger complex systems. So that kind of technology techniques we can is nowadays more popular with AI. Apart from that, in future, reducing the operational efficiency and cost, basically the predictive analytics which AI is supporting. So based on the AI, this is more nowadays popular, and that can basically help to complete the patient's needs or banking sector customers' needs, while transforming the data, so that the delivery is more faster, accurate, and timely. We get to do those delivery. So these kind of like upcoming like technologies or scenarios are beneficial, like doing the transferring the sharing the data. Overall, overall, like I can feel that like with AI or APIs we can use or microservices we can use to share the data, and which we can create like a more faster, easier, and accurate kind of sharing system, which can benefit to the patient and the customer also. Like in case of like a safe, basically transferring the safe data. So the latest technology techniques like blockchain or like federated learning we can use, and then based on that, basically the systems can be built, robust systems can be built to protect those data. Like advancement, whatever the current advancement, what are coming into the AI or Microsoft services side, basically definitely it will help to create more protective, secure data, and those innovations basically definitely will help to the patients and the customers in the different sectors, including healthcare and the banking. So I believe that like using the AI, microservices, APIs, while dealing with the transmitting the data between the different systems, definitely beneficial.
Very nice. Thank you. That's I think what, and so is this something that your company focuses on, or
Yes, currently means we are more using like because currently we are dealing with the different organizations with this data, and we are building those AI based plus
the machine learning models?
Yeah. So modules currently to deal with those issues because currently the company has the legacy system.
Yeah.
So they are coming up with the new system to use those.
I think, but one of the things I've noticed is that a lot of people don't realize in these newer modern, what we call modern AI systems, Gen AI, how much machine learning is still underneath. Like, because it's not like an app, it's a platform.
Right.
It's a platform that makes up ChatGPT, right? And they may hit 10 machine learning models before you even send the prompt, right? Like, is this dangerous? Is it this, that? So, I just wanted to point that out because I do think people will start to realize this more and more that that to really make the magic happen, you need those discriminative ML models helping the Gen AI underneath the scenes, right? And when you put all that together, and that's why I was so excited to see Build this year, because now Microsoft giving us the developing tools, we could put those things together and build the solution, right? That might be 5 machine learning models, 3 3 generative models, one of them running locally, one of them in Foundry in the cloud. I could even see them calling out to other cloud networks. For example, Oracle. Maybe you're integrating with the hospital that's using Cerner. So you have to reach out to Oracle or something. So that's a part why I was just so thankful to have you make the trip, and thank you for coming all the way down here. And it's a really important topic, so I really appreciate it. And you're as we tell everybody everybody that comes and speaks at our monthly meetup, they have an open invitation to speak at any of our conferences or our events. So we'll make sure we keep you posted on those. And with that, I'll stop the live stream, and then we can just have casual conversation. I'm going to start to pick up. And just remember, we've got about 14 minutes. We want to exit right at 7.
Yeah. Okay.